meeting. If we could have a roll call, please. Would you like to do that, Andy?
Sure. Adams.
Here.
Cola. Here. Ms. Wagner.
Here.
Mr. Rice. Mr. Rice. I think you're muted. Mr. Rice is here.
Yeah, he waved his hand. He's
Mr.
here.
Flynn.
All right.
And Township Arbor's Township Manager and your co-director is also present.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Could we pause for a moment of silence and then we'll stand for Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So has everybody had a chance to review today's agenda? Okay.
Yes.
I just need to add one thing under old business. We need to discuss the newsletter.
Oh, right. Right, we'll add that as
8.6.
8.6 newsletter.
Eight point six.
8.6, yeah.
Mhm.
Right, so we're gonna do that. If you're gonna do that, you need to actually do two votes. One vote to add the item, and then one vote to approve the agenda.
Okay.
So if you'll do a motion to add the item, and then
Okay.
do that, and then do a motion to approve.
Would you like to make the motion there,
All
Mr.?
right, I'd like to make a motion to add a newsletter discussion under old business.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
I,
All right.
Don, say aye.
All right, and then I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended, adding 8.6. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You and I?
Yeah,
Okay.
I said it.
Oh, okay. All righty. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes from last meeting? Any questions, clarifications, corrections? Right, hearing none, make a motion to approve the minutes from October 24, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, moving on to conditional use review, 6.1, discussion and possible recommendation for approval of the conditional use application at 4605 West Chester Pike for outdoor recreation. Andy, did you want to share?
Both 6.1 and 6.2, the applicants have requested a 30-day extension. I believe in order to have their engineers process the staff review comments.
Okay.
So they will not be present this evening at the planning commission meeting.
Okay.
And it's scheduled to be heard at the December meeting, but the township may request a further extension of time due to the holidays.
Understood. Okay.
So here's what I would put to you on that. If you don't think you want to be back here on the 30th to meet again, you might do a quick review tonight, and if in case they meet on the 30th. If you are not worried about it and you're hoping that they go to January, we could postpone it to January. But I just so that, like, if you want to think about not having your meeting in January or in December, then you might want to take a few moments just to make comments in general.
I'm hearing that you don't want to come to our meeting in December.
No, I think we're gonna be here either way if there's a meeting. I'm trying to make it so you don't have to come in.
Okay.
I personally don't think it's gonna change my behavior one way or the other, But
I wished it, I really wish it would. I don't, personally, I mean, I'll defer to the rest of the team here, is that, I would rather see what they come back with in response to the staff comments as well as John's comments.
I mean, both of them are not compliant.
Right.
Yeah.
In regards to shade tree,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
so and I'm okay with that. I just,
okay,
the other option you would have is accept John's comments. And if they were addressed, although I think you would probably do another review based on what I've seen, but you could accept his comments based on that.
I have a lot of concerns about the Village of Four Seasons for one. And I mean, there's no trees, I guess, being taken out for the pickleball court, right? So we don't really have a dog in that fight, but I do have concerns about 6.2. So I would rather, I don't know, it's up to you guys. What would you like to do?
I'll be here on the 30th. It doesn't matter if you guys have something.
I have nothing to.
I can also offer a little bit further clarification on Village of Four Seasons. The applicant's attorney, he's really in discussion. Their application was for conditional use. And I think his thought process is that they presented their plans or just to have a review on the use component, which is the conditional use application. And I don't think he understood that as staff, we're going to give more or less soup to nuts review on what's presented to allow the board and all the committees to make an educated decision on how that affects the use. So I think that's why they wanted to kind of pause, regroup, digest the comments that were all made, and then come back to next month's planning commission meeting. That's the reason.
Thanks, that was helpful. All right, so what's your thoughts, Carol? Would you rather wait to get more information?
Probably, yes. That sounds like a plan to me.
Okay. So then you don't have any plans for December 30th? We're such boring people.
I know you. We need a life, that's what we need. This is my life, folks.
Well, I would have been just coming back from California and Florida, so I'll be glad to be home for a while. So, so what action, so do we not take any action at this point then?
You could just table them for this evening and if
Okay.
you'll address them at your next meeting.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, so we will be tabling 6.1 and 6.2. All right, so moving on to 7.1, land development review, discussion and possible recommendation for the approval of the waiver of land development for the broadcast center at Aronimink Golf Club.
I'll speak on that briefly. And Trish and I spoke offline the other day. So Aronimink is obviously clearing 9.29 acres for their broadcast station. It's my understanding that they have to bring in these giant trucks, set up facilities, staging areas. It's a pretty elaborate, and I actually Googled it to see what it looks like at other courses when they did it. It's a pretty elaborate setup. As noted in my review letter, they performed a sampling. They did not perform a true survey. I did go out to the site with one of my staff. We did look at their sampling, and it was done correctly, and it actually mirrors what's there today. And we use sampling all the time as well, as I denoted in my memo. Secondly, they did not provide tree protection. It's noted as being field located, which does not sit well with me. I also think they are hurting themselves in the mere fact that there's a lot of trees in there that are dead, dying, and diseased that they did not pick up during their sampling. So I did speak with John Goslin, who's the senior superintendent, I believe, is that?
Yeah, he's like the head of ground.
Right, who's a very honorable guy. He seems very honest and very sincere. I pretty much told him, and he agreed that he would do it, is once they're done, remove the rock, and mitigate through replanting a forest in that area, which I was happy to hear about. So we can get that mid layer, overstory, understory, and then the ground plane. And he's fine with anything. They need to do this clearing in order to have this broadcast through the PGA. This project's not going to impact any other trees from our review. So really, it's just tree protection outside, because I'm not sure how trucks are going to be entering. I mean, it's a pretty convoluted, system that they got to bring in. As long as they're going to stay on their road structures that are currently in use. I believe once they do the clearing and we can mitigate and get a more sustainable forest. So I think we can get a greater good by them actually doing this clearing, because it's a degrading overhead story canopy. They haven't done any maintenance to it in years.
Questions, comments?
I would also make note, for your benefit, that they will be coming in like right across from Millview Road. They're actually putting a temporary entrance. PennDOT's approved that entrance. So it will be, it's Millview. There's a court, Millview Court, the other direction. It's right across, it's like literally right across the street. They're putting this entrance. So there'll be an entrance that'll drive straight in. I think that will help to address mitigating your concerns, that they're not coming in from someplace else on the property.
Heather did send us something. I was on the way here when she sent it. I didn't have a chance to open it. I guess there's some files that Aronimink sent. I don't know what it says.
Some pictures. I think she had them loaded on here. I just don't, if you go down, not that far down, just pull in the 1, 2, 3, 4, one more down. That one there, I think, would be the one. Oh, maybe not. Go down. That's yours. Maybe she added it at the top. Go one. I think those are older though. Maybe she didn't get that added.
Just got it from them, I think. 4:30.
Yeah, it was very late this afternoon. She may have added it.
Would it be under the land development plans? No.
They were updated plans that they sent over at like 4:45 or something this afternoon. Yeah. Let me see if I can pull them up.
John, do we have a fairly accurate count of how many trees that means they're gonna be taken out in that 9.26 acres?
So the sampling performed showed about 90 trees per acre as an average.
So when they come in next, will we have a pretty sound estimate of if they're using the sampling, they minus the dead trees? Okay.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
To replant the woodland structure in that stone bed that they're going to be using as the parking, they'll scrape that off, I believe, right, Andy, usually?
I'm sorry.
Yes, in the
Yeah, the
past, they
gravel,
come in,
the
they take all the stone back out.
Got it.
Any
Yep.
matting that they put down, they'll probably do some matting because of having tractor trailers coming in. All of that would come back out. If you know the spot, that if you go down St. David's, the spot that's right past the first house, that's sitting there, the very expensive first house that's sitting there, that area that's like meadow
Yes.
area there, they've used that for probably all three of the
Yeah.
golf events that they've had since I've been here. They've come in, they put down extensive gravel. They clean off that whole area, then turn around at the very end, they clean it all back out, replant it, make sure it goes back to what it was before. They do, I think, a really nice job of restoring what they've done. And, you know, it's in their best interest to do that. They're a very expensive country club and, you know, they do that.
It's a good thing for us, I don't think. Object. Us as a group can actually weigh in on what we want planted. So it's something maybe we can meet with them, their designer, John Goslin, and give some insight that gives you folks a hand in, as Andy would say, the apple.
That would be great.
And I'll bring that up.
And so do we anticipate that the site is, so if we apply the are we gonna do the replacement calculation based on DBH? Is that right?
Yes, they did that, and they're at 836 trees that
Okay.
they have to replace.
And then so 836 to replace, then is the site big enough to support 836 trees?
So I don't know the logistics of a golf course in terms of tree hazards and the way what they call greens wind and way through the course. But yes, for that area, we can fit a lot if we do the understory. So if we do trees at, let's just say, 10 to 13-foot spacing, and then do an understory in between those, we can have a very dense woodland structure that can also inhibit invasive growth. And then anything that's left over, I'll leave it to you folks to maybe say, hey, maybe you can help us out with the tree plantings for the future. And John Goslin said, I'll do whatever I can to make this right in terms of mitigation.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, that sounds like
Bring that up.
yeah, that's a good strategy. I mean, I think, you know, we are trying to, as a township, provide incentives to homeowners to plant shade trees along the right of way for street trees. And maybe if Aronimink doesn't have enough space, or they need more trees to make up for that, maybe they could consider, you know, sponsoring that tree giveaway or something like that until you know, that mitigation requirement is met. Would that be an idea? I mean, we've got tree planting events for Arbor Day and for our tree giveaway in the fall. And we know that the township budget isn't as robust it was in previous years. So that would be a really great way to help the community and to provide an offset to that ecosystem loss that those really mature trees would provide until they grow up and get restored, you know, to the.
I think the staple of the mitigation is obviously to get as many trees as we can back on site for the wildlife benefit, stormwater management, all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
Anything over and above, and I believe once we meet with them for the mitigation
Mhm.
efforts, if they can do a tally of the area and we can do spacing based on what we want to see in there tree wise, they can come back to us and say, you know, hypothetically, we can put in 640 trees. The balance of that can go towards mitigation, either in a fee in lieu of state or supplying the plants. And that'll be a conversation we have with them. And
It might be a
I think
win-win. It might be a win-win for them, you know, to get the, you know, the positive publicity with supporting the community, and it might be a good thing for them as
Yep.
well.
and I think Andy and Steve would know best, but I believe they are a good partner in the
Sure.
township. So absolutely. Great question, Trish.
Thoughts? You have any?
That's me. Can you pull that up?
No, it sounds like a great.
Click on that and make it, there you go. So I just thought you asked about the screen. What they had, or not screen, you had asked about what they sent over. 1 second.
And while you're doing that, can I ask another question? And so putting it in an alternate location that's already disturbed isn't an option?
I have talked with them. The problem is there is not a 9-acre space to put it together. If they were to do that, it would drastically impact how they're using, like we had talked about some parking lots that were already there, using those. The question became, what would they do with, like, where do the golfers park? Where do this, the volunteers that they're bringing in, or the corporate people they're bringing in at that moment? I mean, like, it really, logistically, they're used to going to a golf club that's 500 acres. I think this one is somewhere around 278 acres or something like that. So it's really small compared to what they're used to doing. But this is a big deal, I mean, this, like, it's part of the 250-year celebration. It happens to be 130 years for Aronimink. I mean, like,
wow.
there's a lot of things that are going on to make this, to be at this time in this place. There's going to be a lot of things happening in the Philadelphia area because of the 250. And so we get to be a part of that. And so it's a pretty big deal.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the answer is, I have had that conversation with them.
It's not a good answer.
It's just hard because it's just not that big of a place. To give you an idea, some people had said, well, why can't you do it just across the front lawn? Well, the front lawn is going to be their merchandise tent. Their merchandise tent is the size of about a little over a football field. It's a big tent. The bus drop off will be in that area that I was talking about before. I mean, like, we went through all of the places, and there was, I think it was the BMW, but it might have been the one before that. They did the broadcasting out on the ones near 252. We looked at that again. It's not big enough, so they would have to do some there and someplace else. And we looked at that possibility. It's not an easy answer. That's what we're trying to say. There's a lot of things that are going to have to be off-site for this to make it work. We're even looking at how emergency management, where they're located, where our police temporary headquarters is, and all of those kind of things during that event. And so there's a lot of challenges.
And just remember, this is not like the old boys club of Aronimink. There's a whole other layer, the PGA, and I think that's who's really bringing this all to the table, right, Steve?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Aronimink, it's the PGA.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, we had at Haverford, we're right across the street from Marion Golf Course. And of course, we had a PGA there a few years ago. And, we had similar thoughts. It's like, because they needed to use our college property for their corporate setups and for their the marketing and all those tents and stuff. And they had done it before, and they came in, they, completely changed what everything looked like, laid stuff down, set everything up. And when they were done, they cleaned it up and reseeded and everything. And they do PGA does a great job when it comes to the putting things back when they're done messing things up. It's wonderful.
Do we have a date for when this event's going to be?
May of 26, great.
No, that's earlier than that. It's in May, but I think it's the weekend of the 20th, this 15th through the 20th. I don't know, somewhere in that time frame.
Of 26 though.
26.
Of May of, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I
No,
thought
it's
you,
okay.
I had a moment.
No.
I've been having a lot of them, but that was my moment, one of them.
You're only 35, man. How can that be?
Yeah, right. So let me really quick go through this with you. We just got this afternoon. I haven't even reviewed it. And so this is what they sent us. Obviously, this is their piece. I don't know if you can see that very well. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Stop it.
Their new pool?
Yes, that will be their new pool. I say that, that's right, isn't that, Andy? That will be where their new pool, that'll be their new pool and everything in this area.
That looks like
Did they
the
construct it
existing
already?
facility.
Yeah.
I think that's all existing, and the compound would be in the upper left-hand corner. Where
The
tree
tennis
line-
courts, right?
Over here.
Yeah, that upper left-hand corner would be where that broadcast center is located.
And that's
Will there be a
again,
buffer on St. David's Road for the residents that are on?
let me get to the plan. These are just some of their current drawings of what they're working on. So
But Trish, yes, to answer your question, Eric Johnson, township engineer, did opine in his review letter to have a buffer, which they did provide in their plan.
So this is St. David's Road. Can you see the mouse going along there? St. David's there. This is Millview that I was telling you about. But they're doing the driveway straight across there. It comes in. This is where their tennis courts are. So you drive down, you see their tennis courts now. And this area here will be the area that's impacted.
Is it all the green or just the white that they're taking?
No, the green would be the area that's disturbed. My understanding is the parking would be limited to where the white is. There'll be a driveway that goes down. They've taken it out of steep slopes. It's man-made slopes at that location, and they put it in that area. And then it's another parking area down below.
Why do they need to take out all the green if the footprint is just the white?
I'll show you that on the next page. If I have to think of make it a little bit smaller because it appears to be that it's pixelating. So one of the things we're requiring them to do is still stormwater. And so down here, this is where this stormwater management basin was going to be. There's one up in this location up here, and then there's one down here, and it's all impacting the grading so that they can get to the stormwater. What we've asked is that the stormwater mitigation that they put in is that it would remain, even though we would go back and plant, the stormwater basins and those things would stay, which would help address the amount of water that goes downstream from that location.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I agree to that, Steve.
Not initially, but they did now. And you can see it's a pretty
No,
large.
that makes sense. I was gonna say, are they gonna leave them once they're done? That would make perfect sense
Yeah.
because that's all downhill from the golf course.
Yeah.
That would stop a lot of water and hold it up and let it drain
Yeah.
slowly instead of fast.
Yeah,
And it would help
exactly.
to trap some of the nutrients that are coming in off the golf course as well. Okay, well, that makes sense.
That's the reason why so much area is disturbed and why there's a lot of, to get this area flat, they've got to kind of create a hill here,
I see.
and here. This area, they were closer to this area and they were in steep slopes, very steep slopes, and they moved it this way to kind of eliminate that.
And then are these retention too? on
No,
the
these
top?
are.
What is that?
This is going to be where the parking is.
Okay.
And this will be a driveway between the two parking areas.
And then the rest is where the all those broadcast
This is
tractor
the,
trailers and stuff will be?
the parking they'll be on here
Right,
and here.
okay,
This is the retention
right,
basin.
right. Yeah, I was
That's a
just asking,
retention-
what are these green things over here? That looks like stormwater too.
It's almost, that tank is almost 20 foot deep. It's big.
Yeah,
That's substantive.
Yeah, it's big. It's deep. It's like, it's like
Okay.
64 to 46, yeah.
and like I said, they agreed to it. They actually agreed to it very quickly. You know, initially there was some concern about it. They really did want to take it out for future. And we said, anything you want to do in the future, we can talk about at the time, but right now we think it's best to leave it.
Well, that's because they have to maintain it.
Yeah. Well, it is, but it's what's best for the,
They're not cheap to maintain, trust me. I'm on a project right now, I'm doing
Yeah.
it.
well, one thing I will say about them, they're a lot easier to maintain if you stay with them. You know, if you keep on them, if you don't keep on them, they become more expensive. But they would put in for 10 years worth of inspections, just like anybody else
Are they
would.
detention basins or retention basins?
I do not know. I don't know how they.
Do they
would
hold
design-
water or don't hold water?
I know what it means. I don't know what the design is.
Oh, okay.
Eric could answer that. I do not, I look at it and go, I know it's stormwater. I didn't look at the plans.
No,
close
because
enough.
I'm saying they will probably want to take them out. If they're holding water, that's a liability on their point. In
Yeah.
case something gets in there, if a kid or whatever walking from adjoining property gets in there,
Yeah,
then there's that's probably why they wanted to take them out. That's why.
but they can be fenced or whatever if they need to.
Okay.
Okay.
So I know a lot's been coming back and forth. So John, in your report, I thought that they weren't quite ready yet, but you had some conversations and then did you revise your letter? Or is there still things that they need to
There's some-
provide?
And one of them is talking about the woodland mitigation and all that good stuff with the engineers.
Okay,
Yep, so once they do that, they'll provide a plan based on whatever we decide, if they're gonna bring trees to help you folks, re-mitigate, re-decompact, all that good stuff, make a woodland structure. At that time, I'll wanna see that on a plan with the tree protection, so then I can submit a final review letter.
and then can we recommend that they use primarily native trees
be
and all
100%.
of that?
100%. 100%.
So,
That's a great opportunity.
so do we need to take action at this point, Steve, or should we just wait or conditionally
Well,
consider? a
well, here's what I'll
condition?
tell you, if you were to oppose something, tonight would be the time to take the action. My anticipation is that it's going to go before Planning Commission this evening. May or may not be one night before then. I mean, this is not a land development plan. This is actually in for a waiver of land development. We shouldn't drag this out because if we're going to tell them they need to come in and do land development, they need to know that. This is a big deal. This is not going to happen in 1 week. And even though its use is a very short period of time, they need to get in and get started on this and get it ready. They have a commitment to the PGA to have it done in a certain period of time.
Sure.
And so we need to either say, yes, we think you can do this, or no, we don't think you can do this, and do that. I can tell you, I do not want to be the community that says we're not cooperating with the PGA. Okay, so we're going to figure. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, I think we're going to do this. I'm not exactly sure how.
Asking what our next action would be.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
I would
mean,
say approval
conditional.
based on preliminary approval, based on the fact that we're gonna talk about the mitigation, the extra trees, native structure, overstory, mid-story, understory, all those things that we discussed. If they are willing to work with us on those in that fashion, I believe it'll be a excellent project.
Any more comments, concerns, discussion?
No, it's good.
All right,
We need to make a motion.
yes. All right, so I'd like to, or do you want to make the motion? Somebody else want to make?
You do it, please.
I don't get
I
it
thought
stumbled.
that's what you're writing down when you were asking.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to make a recommendation for approval, provided that the discussions with the township arbor about the planting of the property like a woodland structure to replace the 836 trees that are necessary. And if there are any trees left over that cannot be planted on site, we ask that they consider supporting the township's tree giveaway and or Arbor Day planting with those remaining trees. That's all right.
A long sentence.
I know it is. There was a lot to jam in there. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Go for it. Aye.
Right. All right. All right. Old business, update on the tree inventory. We have an iPad?
I really don't know the status of that. I was gonna ask Suzanne today and she got away before I got a chance to ask, her, so I apologize.
All right.
Oh, she left early today for an appointment, and so I just didn't get, I was in a meeting and I just didn't get the chance.
No worries. All right, okay, well, we'll come back to that. We'll add that for the agenda for next month.
Okay.
I know it's being worked on.
Okay,
I mean, I know she's
Yeah.
trying to get it taken
Well,
care of.
if we can get something in spring, that would
Yeah.
be fantastic. We're not gonna be out there now.
I would like to get it this year because I'd like it to be in the budget, so we're
Yes.
trying to get it done now.
Okay,
But she's trying to, Suzanne's a deal maker. And so she has, like, she's got, can I trade these 3 iPads for a new one and that kind of thing. So that's what she's trying to do.
sounds good. Okay, update on the pilot neighborhood fall tree planting.
Trees are arriving sometime tomorrow, the 4th,
Right.
the extras. I dug the holes today,
Oh, thank
Wow.
you. All
just waiting. Hopefully they don't come too late.
right.
Is this for over at,
Beach, yeah.
oh, were there trees that needed to still be planted over on beach?
No,
Yeah,
the
there
purchase
was-
trees that were back ordered.
Okay.
They weren't back ordered, they were misordered.
Oh, okay.
I was told the wrong number. My email said 5, they needed 7,
Oh, okay.
and then they needed 9.
Okay. I love a moving target.
Yeah, and I got blamed for it, but that's beside the point.
Okay.
I'm like, this is my email. This is my email, said 5. I'm like, I can't, I'm like, it's not my money. I would order 100 if you wanted 100. I just have to know the numbers. I'm like, it's not my money I'm spending. So, but they're supposed to come in sometime tomorrow.
Perfect. That's
Thanks for
good.
your time on that, Rob. too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah,
very
thanks.
much. You did a great job.
right, so I just want to give just like the hugest shout out to Rob and all that he did to make the event successful, and to Dan for helping to help dig the holes. And then, of course, above and beyond what Sheila and Cindy did to support it. Sheila was just, the champion of the street and made it happen. And her husband was equally involved on that day, running around, and
And her next door neighbor.
her next door neighbor who ran out and bought sandwiches because we were there way later than what anybody anticipated, so. So Carol, Rob and I were there to put this through, and it was a long day, but it was good. It went, I think that
Thank
the neighbors really were thrilled with it. There were some, I think, lessons learned, did well, do betters for next year, that we talked a little bit with Sheila and Cindy about that, and Yeah, so it was all in all really successful event, and so thanks to you all for making that happen as well. Sort of.
For the most part, no. I mean, there was people there in the morning and obviously people have things to
Well, at least
do.
they get an education.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were, so one of the
I mean,
big,
a lot of elderly people that can't do it, that's,
that was,
Yeah,
I did a lot.
and the other thing, and thank you to your sons too. Oh my gosh.
But they were there
just-
for the money.
Well, I'm glad you paid them, so thank you very much for
But you
that.
think they'd have been there without it?
Probably not. No, only us suckers do that, right? So, I think what we should do maybe next year, if possible, is to do it a little earlier in the season, just because a lot of people had already winterized their hoses and shut off their outside water and stuff like that. So that might be a consideration for next time.
I think that, maybe kind of put like a short, and I don't want to make you do extra work, but a short kind of review about the things that you would do differently, just so, because what I always fear is that 6 months from now, I forget all the things that I would have made changes on if I don't write it down. You won't, Rob won't forget, okay. But the things that you think you really want to make sure you remember, if you just
Okay.
put those down.
Sure.
And then that way, when we start talking about it, I do think we need to start earlier. And we need to, you got to decide where you want to do it next year. Do you want to go back to the same neighborhood again and do more? Or do you
Sheila
want?
already committed.
Well, but Sheila doesn't get to commit, you get to commit. And so you are the,
Sheila gets the people. She
Yeah,
did the
what
hard
she
part.
did.
I know,
Planting trees is easy.
yeah, I know.
Getting the
did-
people and coordinating all that, that's the hard part.
No,
I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying you all have to decide that. And,
but to that point,
I mean, one of the challenges I have is not every house, actually half the houses on that street don't fall into our MS4 issues. So I'm like, I don't know that that's the best place to be doing it if we're trying to hit our MS4 numbers. Not saying not to do it there. I'm just saying, just
Hold
be
on.
aware.
okay. We need to stay in our lane though, right, Steve? Because we're about street trees.
But there are lots and lots and lots and lots of streets in the town
Mhm.
that need street trees that are in the MS4 area. That just happens to be one that the inner circle is not, the outer circle is. And so it just happened to be, that's the way it falls on that one.
That's weird.
Huh?
That inner part of,
Yeah,
doesn't,
I know,
doesn't the
but-
water run off those properties and go across the street too?
But it's not where the water, so MS4 is where our stormwater goes off of our roads. Or off of what we impact. And so that's the reason. So,
That's why there's a map. Actually, George, if you ever go to George's office, he has a map that actually denotes it very.
Yeah, I know, I've seen it. But at the same time, I kind of feel that, what we're doing, these few little trees that we're planting is not really significant at contributing to the MS4 problem at the rate that we're letting trees get cut down. So I don't know, I would rather focus on, the one thing that was really nice with this is that now you have a really nice street. It really is completing, and if the goal of our commission is to focus on street trees, and I would think that, I think the MS4 should be secondary to providing the benefits to shading the roads and reducing those heat centers and providing that aesthetic that instead of trying to get into because it's just not significant enough of a lift.
well, when you need to do 1,000 trees, if you guys do 30 or 40 in that time, it does add up. I don't want to take away from what it does do, because it does add. And you guys have done that over the couple of years that we've been looking at this. You've added significantly to that. particularly if the township is doing things as well. I mean, the township did 185 trees that don't count at all. You know, but it was important for the view that we had in town. So I'm not saying not to. I'm just saying, as you think about it,
Mhm.
if we can do both, that's probably the bigger win long-term. That's all.
But it was amazing because I was wondering, you know, before we went to do the planting, how it was gonna work, and it seemed like how many people and everybody's gonna be out there at, you know, 9 o'clock in the morning, wanting us all to be helping them plant their trees. And we got there and Sheila had it all divided up. She would say, okay, Carol, you have this area. She handed me a paper. I had 3 houses. I had only 3 houses to deal with, and everybody was the same, you know, basically each one we each had about 5 trees. And she had divided it all up, so it was so easy to get it done. It was amazing.
But then we had to go back and put down all the mulch and put the gator bags on and do all the other stuff that we had to
And
do.
the tree protection.
And the tree production. So that's what took the extra time. So that's one of the lessons learned is like, we need everything with each tree. So we need the mulch and the tree protection and all that other stuff at that same time, and the gator bags, so that we can then show the resident how to maintain and fill it.
Sure.
And all that, so.
I mean, I think you guys did a great job from everything I've heard and from what I've seen. So I mean, please, I'm not at all being critical. I think it was great. Just as you're thinking about it, I'm not saying don't do it next year. We probably should finish out that neighborhood, but as we're thinking about it going forward, if we're going to do it year after year, we probably want to tie it to that as well.
Right, so I'll work with, I'll have a commitment. Rob and I can work on a list of things to do better. So like earlier in the year. I'll make-
There is in October,
Mhm. Yeah,
because you don't want it too early.
no, I'm saying like,
This year worked out perfect in regards to.
I dug those holes, dry as a bone still.
yep. All right,
It was still powder today when I dug the holes for the birch trees.
really?
Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
Okay,
Takes a lot of rain to re-soak
Yeah.
down when you've had that long a period of dry.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the reservoir lately?
Yeah.
okay. All right. All right, well, again, thanks to everyone who pitched in, and it was really great. I can't, again, thank Sheila and Cindy enough, especially Sheila. Sheila did all the door knocking and stuff like that to rally the neighbors, so it was really great.
Energizer.
Oh my gosh. Okay, moving on for that, I think for next year, we'll add that to our list. So let's have an agenda item maybe for our January meeting to kind of talk about planning for December, whatever.
They forgot to put the agenda thing on here.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it
Why don't
should
we put
be.
that on for January?
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Maybe it'll get a quiet month.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, that sounds good. All right, but planning, mapping.
Mhm.
Yeah, and certainly, Steve, if you have any suggestions on what areas, I do think Sheila sort of committed us to kind of finishing out that neighborhood a little bit, so maybe we'll need to consider that, but if there are other areas that you feel that we would need to prioritize, I mean, we would be happy to look at that as well.
I think the best thing to do is we bring in the map, just look at the map and say, look at the areas.
Okay.
There's a lot of neighborhoods that have very few trees. So if we could start, I don't know that we need to do every neighborhood, every house
Mhm.
around town, but if we can get something started that people say, oh, I want to continue that. That's kind of my idea, is that it's kind of a driver to encourage the neighborhood to do it. You know, because we can't afford, be honest with you, we're not gonna be able to afford to plant street trees in every location where we think street trees should go.
Absolutely.
But if we can target and do a kickoff and get it started, I think that's how we do it.
This area was wonderful,
Yeah.
but you have to get lost 3 times in order to find it. And, you know, I know, I was trying to find it. But, you know, once it's done, I mean, it's beautiful, but
Yeah.
if we can do, you know, something that's a little more visible, it would be great,
Yep.
like my street.
So like, when we're reviewing land development plans, you guys are, whatever, and there is kind of, because the tree replacement oftentimes is higher than what a site could accommodate. Could we have it be kind of standard that since we're initiating this program to get these street trees, could we have that be kind of a standard recommendation out the gate if we have these shortages on site for replacement?
I mean, I think that's reasonable and it really does be able to tie it back and giving back to the neighbors in a way, if we did it that way.
Well, because then your benefit, you know, it's providing a greater benefit to the community as a
Yep.
whole.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So how would we make that happen if we wanted to have that recommendation sort of stick?
I'll reach out to Rich for.
We'll come up with something.
Okay, all right, great. All right. All right, ooh, it's late. Okay, moving on. All right, so discussion and possible action on Arbor Day 2025. I haven't even thought that far.
Right.
Yes, and Arbor Day. Because we'll need to decide the same thing about where do we want to do something? What do
Well, we have the trees that are left over.
Oh, that's right.
And, you know, you could consider doing a spring planting
Mm-hmm,
and as a street tree planting. It doesn't have to be in the park.
right,
Okay, so, you know, again, and I mean, it would be short notice to turn it around this year, but it is an option, like
okay,
the park, the advantage is it gives you a chance to really do it as an educational project for everybody.
right,
But it doesn't have to be that. You can, like, think about your area is township properties as well as streets. So
Right.
lots of opportunities if you
Right.
want to look at that.
okay, all right, that sounds good. Okay. All right, so discussion and possible action on plans and goals for 2025. We're gonna deal with that in January too. So I think that's all in one big package, actually. All right, any news on the ordinance?
It's back in review for Rich's hands. We've actually got 2 ordinances one doesn't relate anything to street trees that we want to get before the board. I hope to do that at the December meeting with them giving us direction in January then to take action, which would probably mean it would probably be either on the end of January or the beginning of February if we could do that. But that's the goal.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, 8.6, a newsletter.
Yeah, we have not had anything in the last 2 newsletters.
Right, that was my fault.
So we need some people to step up and get some things.
I'll do the next 2. Give me the topic, I'll do.
You pick a topic.
Give me topics.
Okay. I'll see what I can do.
Huh?
Can't beat that. But we just need to do a better job next
I
month.
know, I'm
Next
sorry,
year
I
of getting the,
A
of,
whole
We pick-
month
we-
got
we
away
pick
from me.
Each month and everybody was
I know.
all over.
You know what I think we need to do?
Dave.
I'll pay somebody to do mine.
Okay,
What's it worth?
Rob gets a free pass, he brought that equipment out and helped.
yes.
What's it worth? I'll pay somebody to do it.
So,
Steve, you want to write my newsletter thing?
so what I think we ought to do, let's add this to our
I'll buy you
plan,
dinner or something.
is that, let's divvy it out like we did last time, but let's come up with topics, because that's where I got stymied. I was like, I just don't, I didn't know what we wrote about before, and you know, so let's
How about
talk
I'll
about
take
that.
that on. I'll take on a topic, all topics for 5.
Okay,
I'll give topics and
perfect.
I will bring.
Okay. And I write like a bureaucrat, so
So we only had up through,
Fence.
we only had up through October planned and we had topics.
To get in. The truth, though.
So, yeah, so we'll come up with a list of,
I'll give you 12 months worth of topics.
All right, that sounds good. Oh, I was gonna do trees and erosion. Why didn't you tell me that?
I did tell you that.
Forgot.
I know,
I'm sorry. My
that's
bad.
okay. I forgive you.
What our January meeting?
Oops.
23rd.
It will be the 23rd. Yep. And I mentioned before you came in, before we went live, about moving your meeting to 5:30, and is everybody okay with that? Does anybody object to that? Okay.
No,
I think you would be fine time-wise,
yeah,
Okay.
typically.
Steve's like, yeah, I get a half an hour to just rest a little bit.
Huh?
You get a half an hour to rest.
Well,
Goodness.
the bigger challenge is that I have some meetings that start at 5:30 and some meetings that start at 5, and I always forget which ones are which because it's just different, they're just different nights. It would be easier if I could move all the meetings to 5:30 and then it's just consistent. I know the nights that everybody meets, that's the one thing that gets me held up. So if we could move to 5:30, and it sounded like that was actually beneficial to you all. I think that works, and it also makes it easier. We probably don't have as big as gap between
meetings.
the meetings, and so that works
Does
for
that
our,
start next month or the beginning of the year?
we'll start in January.
Okay.
Well, let me say this, if we have to, because we're gonna have to advertise special for the 30th, we could do that. If we have that meeting, we could make it 5:30.
It doesn't matter to me because I'm gonna be off that week anyway, but how about for you?
In a business, 7 days a week. There's no off.
We'll look at doing it.
All right.
I'll try to do it at 5:30.
All right, that sounds good.
So
All
we're
right,
starting that with December, not with January.
Well, let me make sure we're having the meeting in December,
Okay,
because let me just put it this way. If the planning commission doesn't meet and there's no thing on theirs, I'm assuming you all don't want to meet. Is that a fair statement?
sure.
Okay.
I'm happy to always skip a meeting if we have to. That sounds good. All right, well, so I just realized, and I apologize, that I really haven't been engaging John Rice in some of the discussions in here. John, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, I've really enjoyed working with you guys. But it looks like now I'm going to be moving into Montgomery County. Sometime after the first of the year, we're going to go to the retirement community listener. So I assume that makes me ineligible to continue on in Delaware County. So I will write a letter of resignation so that you can get started on an even better participant. And I know it's been a problem with me being sick and living in Tucson during the winter. But I've enjoyed working with you guys, and I'll keep track of how the street tree project goes on.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, John.
And we really appreciate all your help and support over the years, and we're so glad that you're recovered from your health issue, and, you know, you're great, and I wish you and your wife the best of luck in Montgomery County.
And he wrote a newsletter article without,
Yes, thank
without
you.
having to be recoaxed.
You can still do that. I'll pay you, John.
John, we do appreciate your service to the township, so thank you very much.
How's the
You're
weather?
welcome. Do I need to write you a letter, Steve, or?
If you'll just send an email stating that you're moving and that you'd be resigning, that's all we need. That's enough. You don't have to do a formal letter. Do
Okay,
you have my email and or Mara's email?
no, but I can get it from Heather or,
Oh, Heather's fine. Actually, Heather's the right person for you anyhow.
okay,
Just, if you'll just send it to Heather, Heather will get it.
uh-huh,
And that'll be enough for us to get the process started.
okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
John.
welcome.
Yeah. All right. Okay. No public comment. Do we have any commission comments? No,
No.
I guess that was John's.
Just thank
commission.
you again
Right.
to all you guys who helped with the tree planting.
What, you're thanking us?
Yeah,
Wow. Well, you're
why
welcome.
not? Everybody.
Thank you. No, it was really great. All right. All right, then I'll make a motion to adjourn.